Hello and welcome to your post-daily news update. It is Wednesday, December the 8th. I am John Pollock alongside Wai Ting. I always have to think for half a second there of what day it is.
They all start to blend in together.
All
But
these
today is
numbers. It's just Wednesday. That's it. It's Wednesday.
just say Wednesday. Yeah, that's fine. Or just say hi. You know,
Hi.
we'll we'll
Hi.
we'll, we'll check our phones for the actual
To
time and date.
everyone watching live from Tokyo, welcome to the Thursday post-daily news update. How are you doing, Wai?
I'm doing all right, John. Yeah, I got a bit of snowfall here in the city, so it's definitely starting to feel like December.
It is it's very December-ish here. A lot of snow actually this morning, at least in my area.
Which is not too far from my area, so
No,
very
maybe
similar.
we had differences. All right, let's get into things. Some happy news to start things off. Jim Duggan posted a update this morning, noting after his surgery back in October, he is cancer free. He put up a short video, very nice video that he is free of cancer. He was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Of course, Jim Duggan had also battled kidney cancer back in 1998. So that's tremendous news for Jim Duggan to start
Hi,
things off.
everybody.
And
Sorry
there
about
he
that.
is.
There's the video.
Very festive video as well.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's absolutely wonderful news. Yeah, it's his second bout with cancer, and um, it's what can we say? It's like it feels almost rare sometimes when we're covering the news to like talk about something that's actually happy. So this is wonderful, and it's a great way to start off the Christmas season for the Duggan family, I'm sure.
Yes, tremendous news for all of the Duggans. So great to hear from Jim earlier today. Let's move on over to Raw. The numbers were delayed on Tuesday night, causing a scare among everyone. Where's all the ratings information? So it came out Wednesday morning. Just a note to the ratings surveying out there, the people that gather this information, way better to get these on Wednesday morning than Tuesday night at like 4:30. For me personally, if we
Mhm.
wanted to adjust this system, I'm fine with a little delay. Much easier for me.
Yeah, sure. And why is that? Just for news coverage?
It's
Like,
chaotic for me because I typically have to be done every day by around like 5. So when they're like dropping around 4:30 and I got to write a whole story for them, it's
mhm.
chaos. It's chaos way. But plenty of time this morning because we had pretty pretty bad record that Raw set. On record, this would be their lowest 18 to 49 number ever, hitting a 0.35 462,000 viewers in the demo. They did 1.6 million viewers overall over the 3 hours. So finishing 8th for the night on cable. But in the 18 to 49 demo, they were down 22% from last week. And what was notable about this is sometimes we see, Raw starts off at its typical level and then it declines throughout the show, and the third hour really does anchor it. Well, this week, when you get the really, really bad numbers, it's a combination of factors. It's usually always the third hour is going to pull you down. On top of that, this week, you had a very low first hour. So you're looking at that anchor that's already pulling down a pretty low figure. Like the 18 to 49 number, they started at a 0.38, which to compare last week there are 3 hours in the 18 to 49, a 4.3, a 4.9, and a 4.5. This week, 3.8, 3.5, 3.3. So it was a show that I would be very interested to see what the first quarter did, if that steel cage meant anything, or was this from the jump? This show did not have interest at the usual rate. And that's, semi-surprising that you had some key matches built up, a cage match, a championship match, Edge on the show. So it's not like this was just a 3-hour show thrown against the wall, hoping your regular viewers tune in. They were going against the second biggest Monday Night Football game of the season with the New England Patriots against the high-drawing Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, who would have thought? I mean, just down the street from us here in Toronto, but seemed like a really big game. Do you think this was a case of just stiffer competition in the form of this football game, or continued disinterest, perhaps?
It's not like they haven't gone against, like when they went against like the most watched NFL game of the season. They didn't do this poorly. So I think you can look at it some of that. But this was also one where it was the female viewership that was dramatically down this week. I mean, they were down In women 18 to 49, they were down 33% this week. In like women 12 to 34, it was down like an incredible amount in the rating. It was like 44% or so. So it seemed like female viewership hurt this more so. Male audiences were down too, but not to the degree that women were. 50 plus was up though this week. So, I mean, that's kind of your saving grace. And that props up the overall viewership number that we weren't talking about some all-time low viewership, because 50 plus still did a relatively normal figure. But that was the case. And of course, numbers were up in Canada.
Is it the football thing?
I'm trying to find patterns. I'm trying to put it all together, and Canada just makes no sense. It never makes any sense.
I mean, I don't know, dude. Maybe with the colder weather, like we feel like staying in and watching wrestling on a Monday.
I want to hear from every single viewer that tuned into Raw, because it's not just 1.6 million. That's the average. I want to hear from every single person that tunes into Raw every week, and I want your reasoning. Why did you watch Raw this week? Why did you not watch Raw? I want concrete answers. Maybe there's something we're not seeing.
Hopefully there's some consensus. Good luck going through all of that data, John.
Maybe that will be a WrestleNomics post-wrestling project for 2022.
Individually
surveying every individual viewer. We will find all those 4 million potential network subscribers that George Barrios was after, and we're gonna track them down. We're gonna find out what their engagement level is in WWE day to day.
You have plenty of time in your schedule, both of you guys, so I'm sure you can fit that in somewhere.
I'll throw it in now. If you want to get in your super chats, we will take those at the end of the show. So hello, chat room. I'm not monitoring the chat room, but hello to you all. You're all looking wonderful today. Let's continue. And NXT on Tuesday night. This was the show largely built around Johnny Gargano, to a lesser degree, Kyle O'Reilly. What'd you think of the closing segment with Gargano and shooting the angle with Grayson Waller?
Well, it was an incredibly authentic feeling segment and an authentic feeling promo from Johnny Gargano. He, much like, somebody like a Bryan Danielson, has the incredible ability to just connect with this audience. Yeah, among the best I think, this company has ever seen. And that promo he began the segment with was, I think, everything we were expecting from, a type of goodbye promo. Doing the angle afterwards soured me on it because it took away from that authenticity a whole lot. But I also can understand, like, you have somebody of such high value, and ultimately the goal of NXT 2.0 is to build up your new guys, and to have somebody leave the territory. You probably want to pass that value on to somebody like a Grayson Waller, who can live off of this for quite some time. Of course, the bigger question is, does it call into doubt what Johnny Gargano's plans are for the WWE in the future? Judging by a lot of the actual goodbyes captured after they went off air, I mean, I would suggest that it was a very genuine, at least, promo and some very genuine sentiment from both on the part of him and Kyle O'Reilly towards the end of the show when the show went off air. So what do you think about it, John?
I think at best you'd be looking at someone who is undecided. I think this would be very similar to Bryan Danielson earlier this year, where he finished the match with Roman Reigns and wasn't sure if he was going to be coming back or not. It's not like he knew that day when he lost to Roman Reigns that I'm never coming back and I'm going to AEW. It was a long decision process for him. With Gargano, I think the company, you look at it that they kept both options open. Either Grayson Waller gets the benefit of ridding Johnny Gargano of NXT, and that's his heat, or you have a program for Gargano to come back to down the road. You kept both of those. And if you're NXT and you're looking at, there is a chance that Gargano is not coming back, much like Danielson earlier this year, then we do have to put the focus on somebody to benefit from that, rather than just giving this incredible send-off to Johnny Gargano that is going to go elsewhere. And we have to benefit somehow from this segment. So I understood that. And it's obvious that Grayson Waller has been fast-tracked to kind of the head of the class, as kind of like Braun Breaker is the big breakout babyface, and Grayson Waller is being positioned as like the heel of the new class.
Totally, yeah, and it sets up a number of rivalries in the meantime for somebody like a Grayson Waller. Of course,
Definitely.
they do continue to dangle the Braun Breaker, Tommaso Ciampa rematch. We're kind of setting that up, but Breaker seems to be breaking off. Right, it's so hard to say that name without punning it. But who did Breaker match up with yesterday? I
Well, he's
forget now.
going to do, it's very strange. Like they are going to do Braun Breaker and Roderick Strong next week. So
Right.
you're putting your cruiserweight champion in there where at best you're getting a run in with all the Diamond Mine. There's no way that Strong is beating Breaker, which the way they also did an angle where Joe Gacy is going to go after the name of a show that excludes others. So this seems to be the hint of rebranding 205 Live with Joe Gacy kind of as the one spearheading that. It's just odd that you are coming off like if you're going to go to that extent, you're going to tell this story of him trying to rebrand 205 Live. I mean, go all the way and put the cruiserweight title on this guy and rename it. It just seems like they're going ahead with this angle, but it would seem to make more sense that he's your champion that's going to completely change the division.
I believe they can change the name tomorrow if they wanted to without any storyline reason. I think they want to give something for Joe Gacy to do. And I think he could change the name of the show, go on a campaign to change the name of the show without actually holding the championship, which I think they prefer to keep on Roderick Strong. There is a level of credibility to somebody as good as Roderick Strong holding the championship, regardless of the division. But
He's not even wrestling cruiserweights though.
well,
It's like Odyssey Jones. It's Joe Gacy.
Yeah, I mean, they're
Breaker.
clearly like the cruiserweight moniker is no longer going to be any sort of I don't know, attraction, and it hasn't been for a long time in the WWE, and now it seems like they're completely phasing it altogether. So I think they'll likely change the championship from a cruiserweight belt to some other name, but they probably prefer to have somebody as experienced as Roderick Strong keeping it. So any guesses as to what they might rename the belt or rename the division?
Everybody Live.
Everybody, everybody live.
Or
Maybe just
maybe he's going to want to be honest, and it'll be Everybody Taped 2 days in advance.
that you should probably change the live thing as well. But why not lift the weight limit? Why not go 305? You know,
Yeah, I mean, why have
505.
yeah, this it sounds like a terrible idea. So we will see where it goes. Kyle O'Reilly lost the steel cage match to Von Wagner. Match was all right. I didn't think it was anything special. What I did find amusing though was that at the end, Kyle is put in the tree of woe, and you have Von Wagner smash the cage door on Kyle O'Reilly. And I mean, this is one of the most famous angles of all time with the Freebirds and Von Erichs Christmas night, 1982 at Reunion Arena, and turn the territory around off of the cage door being slammed and the Freebirds turning on the Von Erichs. However, that has been greatly reduced over the years to the point that on Monday night, we had the cage door being slammed on Big E and Kevin Owens to set up a commercial break before they came back and were all recovered. Now, granted, he did slam the door 3 times on Kyle O'Reilly, but I found it hysterical that on back-to-back nights, we did the exact same thing. One was to set up a commercial break. The other was potentially to rid NXT of Kyle O'Reilly.
I'm guessing there's not much
permanent commercial break of Kyle O'Reilly going to break.
I'm guessing there's not much note comparison between cage door slamming spots between the two brands. So I ultimately all injuries can look very different. Like we've seen guys get taken out for a year off of planting their foot wrong. So it all depends on how they're treating it, how they explain the severity of the injury. And it looks like this was their way of taking Kyle out for the foreseeable future, if not permanently on NXT.
Yeah, I think the same thing. Like if there's an angle there for him to come back, but also they did say later in the show that they were awaiting a medical update on Kyle O'Reilly. And I don't think they ever said anything. They didn't ever say any kind of like storyline reason for the injury or the effect of the injury. But you just base it on that. And I think with O'Reilly, that's one where very, very well could have just been the write-off right there. Like you did the loss to Von Wagner and they fast-tracked it extremely quick. Like you did the turn on Sunday and the match Tuesday. That tells me like they probably didn't have a lot of time to work with, because in theory, you would want to play that story out a little longer. They had been teaming for months together.
It tells me, at least in the lead up to this War Games, I mean, a lot of things were still very much in flux, perhaps, behind the scenes, and who knows where things stand right now. But there's an opening for them to go either way.
And with Gargano as well, like it was mentioned in the promo, and I think it's a big factor that wasn't talked about as much in the lead up to all of this, is the fact that, Candice LeRae is due in February, and he very well just might take a break and is not going to make a decision until, baby arrives. You maybe don't want to be on the road at that time. Like, that's perfectly understandable that you maybe don't want to make a gigantic decision.
It's Christmas, you're probably going to want to stay home anyway. And we're talking about if it's AEW, I mean, it's a very deep roster with a lot of recent debuts right now. So it might be to his advantage to wait at this point.
Tony Khan did an interview with Barstool's Brandon Walker, and in the interview noted that for Christmas week, they're going to be doing the Holiday Bash at the Greensboro Coliseum on December the 22nd. So be a live Dynamite that night. Rampage, we talked about this Monday, they are moving it. It's not going to be on Friday, on Christmas Eve. Instead, Rampage will air on Christmas night, which is probably a better night, but also interesting that they are moving it to a Saturday for that week. I don't know if one's better than the other, but they're going to test out Christmas night. Maybe Tony Khan was on YouTube watching that Reunion Arena show with World Class, with the door being slammed shut, and said, "You know what? We need Christmas night wrestling."
Could it be somewhat based in history? I'm not really familiar with the traditions of wrestling.
Christmas night used to be a huge night for territories. Like Thanksgiving and Christmas were big nights to draw from.
Interesting. Okay, so it'll be an interesting experiment to see how it does. And it sounds like he wants this to be a yearly tradition in Greensboro.
Yeah, which, I mean, the Greensboro Coliseum, like, this is a gigantic arena. I don't know what it's scaled at for these AEW shows, but it is an enormous sized venue, but one with a ton of history attached to it. And I'm sure that is the clear reason why they are running Greensboro. So there you go. Christmas night, you'll have AEW Rampage.
Do you expect, like a high caliber main event for something like this, or will it be more of a fun show? Like how big of a Dynamite do you expect something like this one to be? Because the ratings aren't, I don't think anyone's going to take the rating seriously coming out of it, but at the same time, you probably don't want to just give a nothing show either.
No, I think you have to put something of substance there. I don't think you just get away by just doing a throwaway fun holiday show. If you are, it's almost like why even run that night if it's not to do something I'm not even going to say significant. I don't think they're going to go that far and do something huge. They could. But Khan also mentioned, like, he really wants to load up the Dynamites this month for the final stretch on TNT before they make the move over there. And you look at the Rampage numbers, like, I think that's a show that does need, like, that is, if you're satisfied with these numbers, yeah, you can just put good wrestling on each week. And I think the base is going to drop. I think that there's lots of great wrestling out there and people will watch, but you need stakes and significance to really get back to, I think, where you want Rampage to be, that it has the ability to reach even in that time slot.
Right. Yeah, I'm curious, like I think for any of these holiday specials or holiday themed shows, AEW has always managed to come through with some pretty interesting, fun, creative idea. So we'll see what they do.
WWE has announced their recruits for their NIL program. Next in line. Are you next in line, Wai?
No, I am not, unfortunately.
When I hear that program, I immediately think of being at like the supermarket. Who's next in line?
I mean, in a way, the WWE has become a bit of a supermarket or a factory, I suppose you can call it.
Mass production house. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So they have named, I'm not going to go through all of the athletes here, but these are all college university athletes that they have signed to under the name, image, and likeness policy that the NCAA introduced earlier this year. I would say the standout is AJ Ferrari, who's a freestyle wrestler at Oklahoma State. He won the NCAAs earlier this year at 197 pounds. And that's notable because if you look at the men that have been signed here, the male athletes, AJ Ferrari is the only one under 275 pounds. He is 6 feet, 200 pounds. And what jumps off the page with AJ Ferrari, yes, he is a great wrestler. He also has a lot of personality, and that clearly is what they were drawn to here. That said, Way, a 6 foot, 200-pound wrestler that's starting from scratch, that's very much like that's a difficult handicap going into this system when we have seen what they have gone after. And it's just it's the size. They have plenty of 6 feet, 200-pound guys that, like, we've seen what the limit's been in NXT, no matter if you are a world-class talent in this.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there have been people that have been able to break through regardless of that, and it's not like he's that small. Compared to maybe, a Von
Compared to
Wagner,
these other
perhaps.
guys, dude, look at these 330, 300, 285, 275, 275, 305, 400 pounds for John Cron, 305 pounds. Like, these are giants that they were out there.
I would say maybe at 6 feet, he kind of just made the cut. And, 205, he could perhaps get on some weight gainer and bulk up to, like, at least the 250 limit when he's not actively
This guy,
competing in
Portland State,
freestyle.
John Cron, 7 feet, 400 pounds is his listed measurements.
It tells you exactly who they're looking for. So we'll see how many of these pan out. It's they're certainly not pulling from the independents anymore, so I don't think there's much competition in that sense. But yeah, we'll see how well these people do.
Toronto representative here on the list, Alina Hutchins from Wake Forest, track and field star.
Okay, interesting. Wake Forest, cool. And then a set of twins, the Kavinder twins from basketball. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know. See how well this pans out.
And then our final look is at Dynamite tonight from the UBS Arena, where I think the most intriguing element is the reception to MJF tonight, which I think is going to be a very pro MJF response tonight. I don't think they are going to get the ironic response that he comes out and he's booed by his hometown. I think they're going to be insane for this guy tonight.
I absolutely think so as well. But I also think that he could possibly do something to try to get them to turn.
He's going to have to do something because the immediate reaction is going to be hometown hero.
Yeah. As far as like winning the Dynamite Battle Royal, I could see him winning for a third year in a row. I mean, it's kind of become his gimmick this year. It gives the crowd a big reaction, and but we'll see along the way, what other storylines they get to, make. And also, what's the reaction going to be like for CM Punk? I imagine they will cheer CM Punk very loudly as well.
It could be a really fun segment if for one night the roles are reversed.
I just can't see that happening. I can't see this crowd turning on Punk.
If you watch that Barstool interview with Tony Khan, I mean, there is no one better at working in promos than Tony Khan into any answer. Like, he will always get it back to the show coming up or something in AEW. And they start talking about Home Alone 2. And the host, he notes how, it was great to see, like, Kevin McAllister, like, the first movie, it's like a home game for him in Chicago. And then he goes and he does it on the road in New York. And dude, Tony Khan, just like that, immediately equates it to CM Punk. CM Punk, he's really over in Chicago, but this coming Wednesday, he's going to be in New York. And I think he's also going to get a really great reception. It's like, that was a masterful pivot from Home Alone chat to this coming Wednesday on Dynamite.
Promoter of the year for a reason.
Right. We've also got, besides the Battle Royal, Bryan Danielson and John Silver, the Young Bucks against Rocky Romero and Chuck Taylor, and Riho against Jamie Hayter. So only 4 matches announced thus far.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, I don't know if I'm necessarily expecting anything different. Like last week, I thought was a far more stacked card than this one is. And therefore, I'm not sure if I'm expecting too much different from the ratings. What about you, John?
Yeah, this one, it's like, I think the atmosphere is going to be incredible, but I don't know if that's going to necessarily pull people to watch these shows. It's tough. Like, some weeks, it's like last Friday, I could not have predicted to you that Brock Lesnar coming back on SmackDown was going to be their lowest number since the Thunderdome. It's sometimes you get a show like this where maybe there's like a delayed bounce back from Thanksgiving. Maybe not. Like, on paper, this is not a show that comes close on paper to what you had advertised last week. But sometimes it's just hard to predict. And maybe getting a Young Bucks match on TV Maybe that's going to spark some added interest. We'll see.
Perhaps, yeah. And then winter is coming the week after, so
That's right. So they got
really a bit of a go home show tonight.
Yeah, you've got to probably establish like a number 2 match for the show next week. And it'll also be interesting because so much of Winter is Coming is built off of last year, not just the title change, but Sting's arrival. That is the audience going to have an expectation that someone else is going to show up after you did such a huge reveal that's attached to Winter is Coming of last year.
Perhaps, yeah.
All right. Do we have any super chats before we sign off?
Yeah, we do. We actually have a couple in the room. So we want to thank, of course, Carl Crossley, who says the UK Prime Minister has just announced the return of many COVID restrictions. He is working from home and masks are everywhere, etc. So Xmas for him is canceled again. How are things with you? Is all he asks.
Oh man, poor Carl.
Sorry to hear that, Carl. I'm sure you could still have, a happy Christmas, even under lockdown. Hopefully, it's not so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been following the case numbers too much here, but it does look like it is, it's risen with the variant. But
yeah,
I mean, we're not seeing. I think that Ontario had just announced that it was halting its plans to move forward with like the full reopening of everything in light of the recent news over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's of concern. My number one priority right now is to really just hope that everything is good until next week when Spider-Man No Way Home comes out, which I have tickets for. I've been waiting for this thing for so long now that I just hope that we get to theaters in time.
Yeah, it might be Spider-Man Nowhere But Home.
Exactly. And then of course, Brandon from New Jersey sends in a $5 super chat for his question of the day. You can read it, John. I have no answer for it as usual. So
who would be your ultimate Harvey's pitchman? Connor McDavid, Drew Marshall, the Flatliners, or James Langstaff?
I think Brandon from New Jersey would be my ultimate Harvey's pitchman. So, Brandon, thank you very much. I appreciate the support as always. I don't think I'll be reading like any more of these Connor David deals. So thank you for the support, everybody. And thank you all for listening and watching us live.
We're back tonight live at 10:15 Eastern Time with Rewind to Dynamite. We are live for Double Ice Cap and Espresso members of the Post Wrestling Cafe. And we have also dropped our Ask Away mailbag show for the month of December. You can download that immediately. And then tomorrow in the slot, live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, it will be Wai Ting. And who will you be joined by, Mr. Ting?
Kate from Montreal will be joining me in this spot. So I look forward to chatting about a lot of the big stories of the day with her. She'll also be joining me Friday night for Rewind to SmackDown and Rampage. So lots of me and Kate coming up for you guys. And also MCU later with me, WH Park, and Jojo Remy talking about Hawkeye coming out Thursday night.
All right. Look out for all of that. All of your news can be found at postwrestling.com, and we will speak with you tonight.